Now, let's talk about the tap dance. Just as the classic ballet is an international and universal form of dance in the Western world, so is the tap dance an indigenous American type. It exists here and only here, and one can circle the globe and not find it except in a few pallid imitations. Tap dancing is admired and enjoyed by people all over the world, mainly through the medium of the motion picture, but they've never been able to copy the American tap dance successfully. Up until now, it has refused to be transplanted. Now, why is this particular dance form peculiar to America, and what has made it the trademark of the American song and dance man? Well, to say it as simply as possible, it is like America itself. It's a real melting pot of the folk dances of several countries, fused into its present form by a most widely accepted artistic contribution to the world, jazz music. Beating the feet on the ground in rhythm has existed for centuries in every country in the world. Men, like small boys, have always delighted in the noises that stamping the feet make to music. It's a basic masculine movement, and it makes one feel a part of the music. From Ireland and Spain to Russia, the Orient, and Africa, and back to the early American Indian, men have clicked their heels and stamped their feet to the diverse music of their native lands. Among the different nationalities, I should say, that came to this country, there were two groups who formed the basis of and synthesized the tap dance: the American Negro and the Irish immigrant. Beginnings of jazz and its physical interpretation by the Negro, added to the clog dancing of the Irish, developed into an American dance form with amazing swiftness. In the new country, the Negro was singing and playing a new kind of music. Whether it was a lament or a happy song, he had in him the beat and the rhythm that went with it. From the old country came the Irish, and they found that the noise that they made with their feet could quickly adapt itself to the new music and the new style. So here the two peoples met, and here is what evolved. Let's look at the Irish. Now, the Irish had been dancing like this for many, many years. Head proudly held high, shoulders back, arms stiffly down at the sides. They danced with military bearing, their nimble feet tapping out rhythms in 6/8 or 2/4 time. Their dancing is based completely on the movement of the legs and the sound of the feet. Contests were held at every sporting event, and in fact, such emphasis was placed on the cleanness of the sound and rhythm that the judges used to stand beneath the dancers' platform and judge their skill merely by the sound. In our South, the Negro was dancing to the blues. For example, here's an old step he used to do in the 19th century. Now, loose-limbed and relaxed with an easy-flowing manner, his style was adapted to his music, just as the clog dancer adapted to his. The new citizens from the old sod soon found that their jigs and reels easily fell into the tempo and the beat of the new music. For example, the same step became this. Da, da, da. Bum-be-doo-doo-doo, da, 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 as the taps were added to it. Da, 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 and we call that today a standard time step, one of our basic steps. Another step universally danced throughout the world and known technically as a pas de basque was danced by the American Negro to a slow 4 rhythm like this. But as the clog dancer got hold of it and taps were added, it became this. And it became even more tappy as time went on till it became variations like this, and even that and many, many others. But the important thing The most important thing, I should say, was the fusion of the two styles in the movement of the body. The clog dancer learned to relax the stiff bearing that he brought with him from the old world. He let his arms swing and his body sway like the American Negro, and the dance began to take a form like this, but with the same steps. For example, ba, 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 ba. Same step. Ba, ba. Da, da, ba, da, doo, la, ba, 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 ba. That's the time step. I like it. Steps that date way, way back in the old minstrel days on the plantation were in due course added to the standard lexicon. For example, this step, boom, 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 be-doodly-dum, de-dum, became boom, and off to Buffalo, as you all recognize. And the Irishman's proud clog in 6/8 rhythm that we saw before, oh, da-doodly-dum, de-doodly-dum, de-doodly-dum, de-dum, de-dum, became this in our early jazz. Da-dum, ba-da-ba-dum, 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 bum-bum. And that's the way it went. Now, here are some of the basic clog steps. A few of them, to give proper credit, coming from our English cousins in Lancashire. In the old minstrel days, you would have seen this, a clog dance transplanted to American music. Thank you. Now, as the music changed, the dance followed it, as it always does. The music changed, from ragtime and then into Dixieland, and the child of the Union changed their ways accordingly. This step that you saw me do before, which was a simple dee-dee-dum, dee-dee-dum, dee-dee-dum-dum-dum, soon grew into the shim-sham-shimmy, dee-dee-dum, body-dum, dee-dee-doo-dee-da-dee-dum. And the body movement changed. The other step you saw me do is a clog dance. Became and many other of its equivalents. We also have little simple steps like the off to Buffalo, which became very complicated. They came into things like, and so forth. And a charming little step, which was a change by an early vaudeville dancer named Maxie Ford into a very tappy thing like this, with a lot of taps in it. Of course, naturally, jazz music grew and grew and grew and challenged the dancers to keep pace with it. So they didn't stick solely to variations and additions to old clog steps and early minstrel turns, but they reached into the folk dancing of all the Western countries, and they adapted it to our music. Heel clicking, prevalent in all countries, came into early steps like this. That step is known in every country in the world. You've all seen the waltz clog. East, side, That's a real American product. And so on and on. The Spaniard's feet, the Spaniard danced, and we took it from, we put it into jazz. Bum. We took it from everybody. So it went till the day we're using every type of sound and movement known to man, all unified by the great motivating force, jazz music.